all three of them put together would be managing close to 10 lakh crore.
साइकोलॉजी ऐसी है ना मार्केट की कि व्हेन थिंग्स गो वेल प्राइसिंग आल्सो रिफ्लेक्ट्स दैट।
सेंसेक्स का जब 1979 से अभी 45 इयर्स हो गए हैं, अगर उसमें डिविडेंड इंक्लूड करें तो 1100 टाइम हो गया, राइट।
Momentum is a very unbiased factor.
The argument has always been कि यार इंडेक्स में पैसा डाल दो.
क्या होता है ना कि क्रेडिट साइकिल जब खत्म होती पता नहीं चलता है, बट जो फॉल होता है ना वो ऑल ऑफ अ सडन आता है।
ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम इंडेक्स बहुत बेटर करेगा एक्टिव फंड में। अब मेरे को प्रॉब्लम ये हो रही है कि 250 पैसिव फंड्स है मार्केट में, बट इतना ज्यादा पैसिव हो जाएगा।
See, momentum में कोई ह्यूमन इमोशन नहीं है, कोई थीम नहीं है।
मैं अग्रेसिव इन्वेस्टर हूँ, 10 साल का टाइम होराइजन है, 20% पैसा मुझे फिक्स इनकम में एलोकेट करना है। कहाँ? Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to our new series, which is the Round Table. Today, indeed, is going to be a very special discussion because today I am accompanied by the brightest and the most seasoned mind in the investing business. If I'm not wrong, all three of them put together would be managing close to 10 lakh crore of asset under advisory in the businesses that they represent. Of course, they don't need any introduction, but to my left is Mr. Nilesh. He is the Group CIO, Mirai Assets. Mr. Manish, he is the Debt CIO at ICICI. And Mr. Rahul, who is the Group CIO at Tata Mutual Fund. Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time out and being a part of the roundtable today. We're going to keep this very candid. I really want to extract the best out of all of y'all because I don't want y'all to look at this as a TV interview and restrict yourself in terms of conversation. थोड़ा सा फ्री फ्लोइंग होगा, नेचुरल होगा, कुछ ऐसी चीज़ें बताइए जो आप जनरली टीवी पे नहीं बोलते. It'll be a lot of fun for our audience and I really want them to learn from your investing journey of being managing lakhs and lakhs of crore and all the trust that all Indian investors have actually put to you out. So first, thank you so much again. Let me start throwing some questions at you all because that's what the podcast is ideally expected to do. Let me start with you, Nilesh sir. I think the biggest problem is म्यूचुअल फंड इंडस्ट्री कैसे ऑपरेट करती है, बहुत सारे लोगों को पता ही नहीं है, राइट? क्योंकि टिपिकल इंडियन इन्वेस्टर को एक आदमी पता है जो पैसा मैनेज करता है, उसके पीछे का इकोसिस्टम दे हैव एब्सोल्युटली नो आइडिया अबाउट. सो आई रियली वांट टू लर्न फ्रॉम यू एंड सो दैट द व्यूअर्स कैन अंडरस्टैंड एक म्यूचुअल फंड में फंड मैनेजमेंट लेवल पे क्या इकोसिस्टम होता है, सीआईओ कौन होता है, फंड मैनेजर कौन होता है, वो एक दूसरे से कैसे अलग है, उसके नीचे की टीम क्या करती है, कितने स्टॉक्स आप कवर करते हो, 5000 स्टॉक्स है, कैसे ध्यान रखते हो, हाउ डज दिस एंटायर इकोसिस्टम वर्क? इफ यू कैन हेल्प अस अंडरस्टैंड प्लीज.
Sure. Thanks for inviting, first of all. So it's a very broad question, but I would stick the nuances to equity portion. So how equity fund management done. The overall ecosystem, people know that it's a beautiful product and there are a broad structure which regulator has evolved over time. There is board of director, there is trustees, and then there are various functions, of which one of the most important function is how the fund management part is done. And within that, the core of the product is a commingled product where millions of investors invest. There is one single product. There are various categories, and we invest from a longer term perspective by identifying companies and holding them over a period of time. Now, what the back end work is a function of how the underlying businesses are identified. So there is a research team, equity research team. So we would have, let's say in our case, there is a 19-member team, of which 15-member research team to cover various sector. Sector means various businesses, and they have sector specialists. They are the foundation in terms of covering the company. So everyone has the investment universe. Let's say we cover about 600 odd companies. So that's one part of it. In addition, then there is a fund managers. There are fund managers who manage various schemes. So we would have more than a dozen schemes. Let's say everyone must be knowing the large cap, mid cap, how the regulator is classified. Each scheme has a manager, and he would then construct a portfolio. So that's the second sort of bucket. In addition to this, there are risk and compliance team which sort of help in terms of guiding the entire construct of the how the funds are sort of they evaluate it, sort of mirror in terms of reflecting to the fund managers that this is how it's to be managed or regulated. Just to elaborate on how we construct the portfolio and basically, or how the funds are managed. Again, it's a long topic. I'll try to sort of there are two aspects: how stocks are selected, which is by the research team along with the fund management team, and there is an aspect of how the portfolio how the portfolio is constructed. So on research, as I said, there are sector specialists, and you look at good businesses, and from a longer term lens, you analyze the character of businesses, the past, multiple things are there in terms of modeling, doing a DCF, etc. Along with that, there are softer aspect in terms of how the management is evaluated and how the valuation is done. And there are multiple processes in terms of how you analyze and evaluate at a value of a company. See, stock price, the market price is known, that is the cost. And then you arrive at a value. Only when the value is more than the available cost or the price of the stock, you will sort of recommend it. Fund managers, along with the analysts, they would sort of select from the investment universe, these are the stocks you will buy within a sector, and fund managers will take sectoral call and the portfolio is constructed. In general, in our case, we don't deviate significantly because we have to beat the benchmark. So we take very stock specific call, but don't deviate significantly. So there are guardrails by the fund manager, how the portfolio is constructed. So there are about, say, 40-45 stocks, which will be 80-85% of the portfolio. And idea is it's a long answer, but the idea is that you don't take unnecessarily high risk. You mitigate the risk and yet deliver superior and consistent performance over the underlying benchmark of which we are measured. So we are, as a mutual fund manager, is measured vis-a-vis the benchmark, which can be Nifty or it's prescribed by the guidelines, and also measured vis-a-vis the another 40 plus AMCs would have similar products. So that's the idea, is to have a risk adjusted portfolio which can deliver superior and consistent performance, which cannot take too much of risk. And last point is, there are risk mitigation measures which are done by the fund managers and the CIO itself. In addition, there is a separate risk team and investment committee which sort of monitor that.
Correct me if I've understood this well, from an audience standpoint. आपने कहा 5,000 स्टॉक्स लिस्टेड है, उसमें से आपका यूनिवर्स 600 स्टॉक्स, 600 या 650। आपके पास 15 लोगों की रिसर्च टीम है, जिनमें इन 600 स्टॉक्स को डिवाइड कर दिया जाता है सेक्टर वाइज ऐप से। तो एक बंदा होगा जो बैंकिंग सेक्टर स्पेशलिस्ट है, दूसरा बंदा होगा जो आईटी सेक्टर स्पेशलिस्ट है, सो ऑन एंड सो फॉर्थ। उसके ऊपर फंड मैनेजर है, तो फंड मैनेजर को अगर 40 स्टॉक का पोर्टफोलियो बनाना है, तो ये सब रिसर्च एनालिस्ट कुछ स्टॉक्स उनको रेकमेंड करेंगे और वो चूज करेंगे उनमें से पोर्टफोलियो उनको कैसे बनाना है, राइट? I want to ask you a follow-up question because before I go to them. Then how is the CIO's role different, जो आपका role है, versus the fund manager?
Yeah. So CIO in most of the cases are also fund manager, they would be looking at, because there is one commonality. And this is the overall structure is very flat. It's not that CIO, fund manager, research, they are in silos. So everything is as a teamwork. You have to connect and disconnect, in the sense like there can be disagreement on a particular stock, but the structure and processes are there. It's a teamwork in terms of working along with fund managers and the analysts.
But then who has the final say, if the CIO and the fund manager?
For a particular scheme, the final say is with the fund manager. CIO role is to oversee the entire thing in terms of the overall guardrails. Let's say if there are of the processes, if there are multiple processes, and whether who is monitoring the process as a bit of gatekeeper of various processes. Also, there is guardrails and multiple nuances are there. But the final call is with the fund manager, and CIO, as I said, is work as a team along with the fund managers. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, because this is equity, Manish, I'm going to skip you for a minute and talk to Rahul, because I have a follow-up question on what I learned from him, right? Rahul, look, what I learned from him is 600 stocks थे, 600 stocks में से as a fund manager आपको 50 स्टॉक का पोर्टफोलियो बनाना है, राइट? हाउ डू यू डिसाइड कौन से सेक्टर को कितना वेट दिया जाएगा, उस सेक्टर के अंदर कितने स्टॉक्स लेंगे आप, और कौन से स्टॉक को कितना वेट दिया जाएगा? क्योंकि आपके पास भी अगर 14-15 रिसर्च एनालिस्ट है, वो सब भी अपने स्टॉक्स आपको पुश करेंगे। तो क्या आपका कॉल है कि आप कौन से सेक्टर से कितना वेट रखोगे और उस सेक्टर के अंदर कितने स्टॉक्स में क्या वेट में इन्वेस्ट करेंगे?
तो इसमें 2 फैक्टर्स होते हैं। एक तो ये होता है कि एक फंड मैनेजर, हर फंड मैनेजर की एक अलग-अलग थोड़ी-सी अलग स्टाइल होती है। ऑन द ओवरऑल guardrail, overall policy is the same for the within Tata Mutual Fund. हर fund manager use थोड़ा बहुत अलग होता है. He selects stocks differently compared to me or or someone else. So एक वो फैक्टर होता है. अब उस पर और डिटेल में होगा. दूसरा फैक्टर होता है कि स्कीम आप कौन सी मैनेज कर रहे हैं. अगर आप लार्ज कैप फंड मैनेज कर रहे हैं तो आप थोड़ा सा सेफ्टी, थोड़ा सा इंडेक्स की तरफ थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा झुकाव रहेगा. If you are managing small cap fund, you will buy only alpha areas. Don't care about the sharks. Yeah. Similarly, अगर आप बहुत हाई रिस्क हाई रिटर्न वाली फंड मैनेज कर रहे हैं, जैसे अगर मैं एग्जांपल दूँ, बिजनेस आईटी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट सपोज टू जनरेट हाई अल्फा एंड टेक हाई रिस्क, उसका अप्रोच काफ़ी डिफरेंट रहेगा. So when analysts recommends, there are some high risk return wale stocks and there are some moderate return, moderate risk. So there are some low risk, low return. So the fund manager has to look at the scheme ka demand. Scheme क्या demand कर, and also some overlay of his style. Absolutely. ये दोनों का जो combination होता है उससे जो है portfolio का.
So ideally, correct me if I've understood this well, आपके रिसर्च एनालिस्ट तो आपको स्टॉक्स आइडिया भेजते ही रहेंगे. काम आपका है पोर्टफोलियो को डिजाइन करना, उस पोर्टफोलियो को मेंटेन करना, बिकॉज एट द एंड ऑफ द डे यू आर आंसरेबल इफ द स्कीम डज वेल और करेक्ट. इज दैट अंडरस्टैंडिंग करेक्ट?
करेक्ट, एग्जैक्टली करेक्ट. एंड एंड ऑफ द डे आपने सही बोला कि हर दिन आने भी आती. सो हर दिन हर महीने, बट इतना शॉर्ट टर्म ही नहीं होता है. लेकिन यू आर राइट दैट अल्टीमेटली रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी मेरी है, फंड मैनेजर की है, कि उसकी परफॉर्मेंस इज इन ब्लैक एंड वाइट. अब उसमें कुछ इकन बट नहीं का. It's in black and white at the end of 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year.
I think, look, equity is the most discussed topic in general in India also. It's very unfortunate that fixed income is only AOD in the country, right? And I'm a big proponent of fixed income investing using mutual fund, but I have a big problem. और मेरा प्रॉब्लम ये है कि एक साइड पे the government is looking at opportunities through RBI to deepen the fixed income space with RBI Direct platform and all of those things. And at the same time, another agency of the government is trying to kill the same market, which is the biggest liquidity provider. Correct me if I'm wrong with my understanding or not. The biggest liquidity provider in the fixed income space on the corporate bond market is mutual funds, right? तो अभी अगर इंडेक्सेशन एज एन एडवांटेज निकाल दिया तो एक साइड पे आप फिक्स्ड इनकम को प्रमोट करने की कोशिश कर रहे हो आरबीआई डायरेक्ट के थ्रू या दूसरी जो भी ईटीएफ स्कीम्स आई थी, और दूसरी साइड पे आप इंडेक्सेशन एडवांटेज निकाल देते हो, तो फिक्स्ड इनकम मार्केट डेवलप कैसे होएगा कंट्री में?
नहीं, मैं मतलब एकदम ऐसे एग्री नहीं करता हूँ कि आपने टैक्सेशन चेंज कर दिया है तो फिक्स इनकम का पूरा फ्लेवर ही ख़त्म हो गया है. आई डोंट अग्री टू दैट. देखिए, अल्टीमेटली क्या होता है ना, लाइफ इज अबाउट एसेट एलोकेशन, एंड एसेट एलोकेशन डजंट मीन कि आप एक ही एसेट क्लास खरीदते रहो, राइट? देयर इज अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम व्हेन वन एसेट क्लास डिलीवर्स वेरी वेल, बट देन देयर इज अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम व्हेन सम एसेट क्लास डजंट डू वेल, राइट? सो आपको अपने ओवरऑल पोर्टफोलियो में यू नीड टू हैव ऑल काइंड्स ऑफ एसेट्स. और फिक्स इनकम क्यों चाहिए? रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ फिक्स इनकम इज कि आपको स्टेबिलिटी आती है पोर्टफोलियो में. सो एसेट एलोकेशन इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. There's a period of time when one asset class does very well. Equity is done very well in the last 10 years, right? And if you've not seen a down year in equity at all, but does that mean that it will continue always? I don't think that's the case. When I look at this global equity markets, and we have a very long history now, there have been large periods of time where equity as an asset class has not generated enough returns for investors. आप पोर्टफोलियो जब कंस्ट्रक्ट करते हो, you have a requirement for regular income as well. Sure. आपका कुछ रिक्वायरमेंट होगा फॉर अ पर्टिकुलर ईयर इन टर्म्स ऑफ योर स्पेंडिंग, इन टर्म्स ऑफ some big need of money which comes in a particular year. If you don't have that money, if one asset class doesn't do well, so you can't suffice your lifestyle. So fixed income therefore is something which will never go away. The problem right now is that equity has given such good returns in last 3 years, people have forgotten about fixed income. I think it's a fallacy of people to say that and this is our cycles. 2020 I had a similar interview, right? And again there was an equity fund manager, there was a fixed income fund manager, and we were two fixed income fund managers, one equity fund manager. And same question was asked in 2020 में equity returns over last 6-8 years looked horrible at that point of time, and fixed income returns kind of outpaced equity returns. And this question was asked, and the reply was very different because everybody wanted to invest in fixed income around that period of time. So ये तो time की बात है. Now as far as mutual fund fixed income is concerned, I think there's still a lot of value. एक तो people underappreciate the value of liquidity. When you move to traditional investments or any other form of alternate investments, they are all kind of locked in terms of value. You don't get liquidity. Mutual fund are vehicles which talk about transparency, and that I think is the biggest advantage of mutual funds. जो है portfolio आपको fixed income में तो 15 दिन में publish होता है. Equity fact sheet आती है महीने में, fixed income 15 दिन में we publish all our portfolios. So one is that. The second is there are market cycles, and you have different products to take care of those market cycles. So if you get that market cycles well, traditional investment में क्या होता है कि आपने डाल दिया 3 साल एक ही रिटर्न आएगा आपका. When you get the market cycles right, you ride those up cycles and down cycles as well. There are periods of time जहाँ पे आप duration play करते हो. There are periods of time जहाँ आप high accrual play करते हो. So you have different strategies to make sure that you deliver returns which are more than sufficient for investors from an asset allocation perspective. So I think ये misnomer है कि fixed income will not be an important asset class. समय समय की बात है.
आई थिंक आज की बात कर रहे हैं और इक्विटी मार्केट इतनी तेजी पे फिक्स इनकम को कोई भाव नहीं दे रहा, बट फिक्स इनकम इज डेफिनेटली अ वेरी
I'll again give you an example. आप अगर US equities and Indian equities को अगर छोड़ दो, most of the other equity markets in the world, largely the emerging market equities, यूरोप में भी DAX को छोड़ दो, बाकी most of them last 10 year 15 year return is suboptimal.
Yeah, I was reading a report which said I think it was कोरिया का लास्ट 1 साल का रिटर्न कुछ 60% है. अगर आप उसको भी रोलिंग कर लो तो एक्सेप्ट इंडिया एंड यूएस देयर इज नो इक्विटी मार्केट्स व्हिच हैव delivered anything larger than inflation. So I'm very much in sync with what you are saying. Yeah, पर क्या है ना, flavor of the season equity है, तो this interview is happening at the wrong time, maybe rather said. Nilesh, you made a point जब आप डिस्कस कर रहे थे कि जब रिसर्च एनालिस्ट फंड मैनेजर्स को स्टॉक रिकमेंडेशंस देते हैं या सजेशंस देते हैं रादर, उसके साथ एक कंप्लायंस टीम, रेगुलेटरी टीम भी होती है जो ध्यान रखती है, राइट? माय क्वेश्चन इज द 2018 classification or categorization by SEBI, right? What has really changed after that, and how significantly the role of this team, which is not directly a fund management team, has really played a role? Has it significantly changed anything that you were doing post 2018?
No, nothing significant. Let me clarify. What I was saying is various broader aspects, as you said, how it works. So the risk has two angles. A lot of risk is managed by the fund manager, like Rahul mentioned, how portfolio are constructed, how much you deviate. There is also an element that you have a separate risk and compliance. They don't work within the team, but there are, let's say, monthly meeting, which is called as investment committee meeting, in which they oversee it. So it's not that they suggest what stock to buy or so. That's the clarification. So they don't work within the thing, but there is two ways of mitigating the risk. जहाँ तक आपने 2018 में जो क्लासिफिकेशन चेंज हुआ, वो रेगुलेटर ने सिंप्लीफिकेशन. म्यूचुअल फंड इज, बाय द वे, ऑल ऑफ अस नो दैट इट्स अ ब्यूटीफुल प्रोडक्ट. इट्स सो सिंपल, इट्स सो ट्रांसपेरेंट, सो टैक्स एफिशिएंट, सो कॉम्पिटिटिव एंड सो चीप. So it's an excellent product, but the industry has evolved over last 2 decades. सारे जो ecosystem है, जो manufacturer है, channel partners है, even investors through SIPs and all, they've evolved, and the size and scale has increased. So how to make it simple as well as scalable? That's how regulator has prescribed certain guidelines. And how do you give the nomenclature? जो नाम क्या दोगे, category कौन सी रहेगी? उस case में there are certain classification which has been done. It's been done based on size, it's done based on themes, and then they have classified as large cap, mid cap, small cap, something like that. As Rahul mentioned, that the risk return parameters or time period can be sort of different. तो your question, तो उसमें कुछ ज़्यादा परिवर्तन नहीं हुआ है, एक्सेप्ट ये है कि आपके जो buckets are defined, एंड यू हैव टू वर्क इन दैट फ्रेमवर्क। जो ऑफर डॉक्यूमेंट है कि भाई लार्ज एंड मिड कैप एक कैटेगरी है फॉर एग्जांपल, तो उसमें 50% लार्ज कैप ले सकते हैं, 50% मिड साइज ले सकते हैं। व्हाट आई मीन लार्ज कैप, द डेफिनेशन इज टॉप 100 कंपनीज आर कॉल्ड लार्ज कैप, नेक्स्ट 150 इज कॉल्ड मिड साइज कंपनीज, और उसके जो कम है 251 से लेके 500 तक उसको स्मॉल कैप कैटेगरी को लेते हैं। तो उस केस में परमुटेशन कॉम्बिनेशन करके वेरियस कैटेगरीज हैज बीन डिफाइंड। बैक एंड फॉर अ फंड मैनेजर एंड रिसर्च देयर इज नो चेंज बिकॉज आवर core job is to identify good business and how do you identify those businesses and then how do you construct the portfolio.
Let me rephrase this question. I know of your transition from large cap to emerging, which is now large and mid, right?
Mid cap to large and mid.
Now my specific question is to do with the large cap category as such. 2018 के बाद there are multiple phases of time that we've seen that the active fund management has found it specifically difficult in the large cap space to be able to beat index. Of course, this is time to time and cycle to cycle, and I understand that. But मेरा क्वेश्चन उस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में था, पहले आप लार्ज कैप में आपके पास थोड़ा सा फ्री हैंड हुआ करता था कि आपको लगे कि मिड कैप में थोड़ा सा स्कोप है, थोड़ा सा अपॉर्चुनिटी है, तो अब 20%, 30%, आई मीन आई डोंट वांट टू पिन पॉइंट, बट आई एम सेइंग क्या वो रिस्ट्रिक्शन की वजह से स्पेसिफिकली लार्ज कैप में has it become a challenge for active fund management?
Absolutely not. And even if you see data of median return, I'm not talking of our return or someone who is doing well or not doing well. I'm saying median return on a 10-year, 20-year basis, very longer term basis, एक अल्फा है जो बेंचमार्क का जो रिटर्न है उससे ज़्यादा रिटर्न एक्टिव मीडियन रिटर्न्स का है. That is one. मोर इम्पोर्टेंटली ये जो बोलते हैं लार्ज कैप में, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल यू कैन हैव टू बाय 80% लार्ज कैप, तो एक लीवे है 20% का वेर यू कैन बाय मिड कैप, स्मॉल कैप, एनीथिंग. दैट इज वन पार्ट. सेकंड इज द कंपैरिजन विथ लार्ज कैप इंडेक्स ओनली. It's not you're comparing with mid cap index. So there is no handicap. All active managers are that this is the benchmark. In India, benchmark has given phenomenal returns since Sensex has gone from 100 to whatever, I'm including dividend 1000 times to 1100 times. But I'm saying, how do you outperform the benchmark? In this case, the benchmark happens to be a well-defined top 100 companies. So the handicap is not there in terms of that because of size you can outperform or underperform, only on that context. In addition to that, you have a leeway to invest 80 to 100% in large cap. So there is a leeway to invest 0 to 20% in mid-sized companies. Whatever underperformance phases which you are referring to, that common notion that active large cap fund cannot outperform or so, it's probably either because of particular period or because of particular style, but conceptually you are out betting or you are competing with a large cap index. So I don't think there is a handicap. More so in an economy like India, which is very high growth oriented. So there is a lot of variation between sectors and within sectors also. स्टॉक में भी बहुत वेरिएशन होता है. अगर आप 5-10 साल का भी लोगे, एक सेक्टर में भी स्टॉक्स के जो रिटर्न्स है काफ़ी डिविएशन होता है. सो हमारा मानना ये है कि अगर आपका रिसर्च सॉलिड है तो यू कैन आइडेंटिफाई इनएफिशिएंसीज. Inefficiencies can be within sectors and between sectors, which can generate slightly higher return without taking too much of risk over the benchmark, which in case of large cap, it is the large cap benchmark. In case of mid cap, it is mid cap benchmark.
So what I understand from you is that SEBI's regulation to make this more transparent कि आप एक स्टॉक में 10% से ज़्यादा पैसा मत लगाओ, एक सेक्टर में 20-25% से ज़्यादा पैसा मत लगाओ. Whereas on the index side you have stocks which have a weight of higher than 10%, and if there is a skewness कि 3-4 स्टॉक मार्केट को चला रहे, that's not actually a handicap for large cap, right?
No, so that is one small nuance where then there is a limit from a risk guardrail perspective. Beyond that, I don't think sector-wise there is any limit. The sector-wise deviation is not prescribed by a sort of regulator. But whatever, I got the question, many large cap funds are underperforming the benchmark. That has not to do with the construct. They do not do with the level playing field or something that there is a benchmark में difference है or so. It may be due to certain style not working during a period of time. That's why if you take a longer term period of time, we are generating alpha.
I'm gonna pick Rahul's brain on where you left. He mentioned a level playing field in terms of discussion, and because I know there is a PMS angle to a lot of fund houses, right? I am somebody who believes there is no level playing field between an MF and a PMS, right? Because unfortunately on the PMS side you can still do a lot of things, and for some reason I feel SEBI does not want to concentrate there because probably retail is not there. And I'm sure you know my question more than I'm spelling out, right? Is mutual fund regulation and the transparency, right, actually a tad bit negative from a PMS perspective?
See, if you see the numbers of SIP and those, you will dismiss this outright. अगर ऐसा होता तो क्योंकि अभी भी ये बहुत सिंपल प्रोडक्ट है जैसा
नहीं, सॉरी, मैं रिफ्रेश करता हूँ, परफॉर्मेंस और लीवे के परस्पेक्टिव।
वक्त की बात ठीक है। लास्ट 2 साल में जिस तरीके का मार्केट रहा है और ऐसी बहुत सारी 2 साल के फेजेस आते, ये कोई नया 2 साल नहीं है कि पिछले 20 साल में थे 4-5 2 साल के फेज आए हुए जिसमें मार्केट ब्रॉड हो जाती है, स्मॉल कैप मिड कैप बहुत 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 ज़्यादा उनको फॉर्म करते हैं, कभी कभी कुछ ट्रिपल से ज़्यादा. सो इन दैट फेज इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट sometimes to outperform a PMS, which is running a concentrated 15 stock का portfolio, mainly small cap, mid cap. So that is a matter of time and that is a matter of asset allocation also. For example, अब कोई भी investor, कोई भी आज investor HNI हो, पूरा का पूरा PMS में उसमें, he cannot afford to have that kind of risk. Correct. So some allocation going to PMS is bound to happen, and AIF.
मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है अनफॉर्चुनेटली benchmarking is such a big problem in PMS because of course we don't want to take names, but let's say flexi cap PMS है, एक multi cap PMS है, उसका definition from a mutual fund standpoint is so different, whereas a PMS can do whatever they want to do with whatever name they want to do. So अगर एक mid cap small cap अच्छे फेज में, राइट, क्योंकि उसके पास कोई डेफिनेशन ही नहीं है PMS में, वो तो कितना भी पैसा स्मॉल में मिड में रखेगा कुछ भी नाम देकर, राइट. ऑफ कोर्स वी वुड वांट टू बी ट्रू टू लेवल, बट द फैक्ट इज दैट द इंडस्ट्री इज नॉट दैट वे. तो जब आप एप्पल टू एप्पल कंपैरिजन करते हो, एक फ्लेक्सी कैप ऑफ अ म्यूचुअल फंड एंड अ फ्लेक्सी कैप ऑफ अ PMS, अनफॉर्चुनेटली मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है कि वो लेवल प्लेइंग फील्ड नहीं है. आई डोंट नो इफ यू एग्री टू व्हाट आई सेड.
I understand what you're asking, but the balance to that is that you are only, I mean, there is a limit, there is a minimum investment limit for PMS, AIF. Mutual fund के लिए कोई limit नहीं है, so it kind of balances out. I think there is enough gradation and enough growth which we have seen in India. Despite all these constraints, we still get flow not just from absolute retail, but from HNIs, but from high ticket in MFs. Because आज MS में क्या हुआ है कि we also have a lot of thematic funds. Sure. We have some small cap funds which are doing very well and even better than some PMS schemes. You can compare it NSE or this is our data. So इतना बड़ा constraint नहीं है performance wise. If you really do like to like small cap versus small cap, there are some mutual funds which have also come in the higher set. एंड विद इन म्यूचुअल फंड बहुत सारी थीमेटिक, इवन पैसिव में बहुत सारी नीश थीमेटिक्स आ गई हैं, मोमेंटम के प्रोडक्ट्स आ गए हैं, अल्फा के प्रोडक्ट्स आ गए इन पैसिव्स विच आर गिविंग इनफ एंड मोर ऑल्टरनेटिव्स टू HNIs to want that kind of approach, which can, if not totally replicate a PMS, can be a very, very, very good substitute for us, if you really want to take that as. एंड थीमेटिक में भी बहुत सारे, पैसिव में बहुत सारे थीमेटिक्स आते हैं. तो देर आर वेरी वेरी नीश इंडाइसेस which can give you good alpha if you get the timing right. So see, ultimately PMSs also will have the cycle. Sure, there will be good 3 years and then then you have to lose out to large caps and large mid caps, and then again some cycle will happen. So it is never a straight line. And never is 100%. So I think that is the catch.
I think I have the same problem of being true to label on the fixed income side also. Which is, again, I'm not sure if you will agree to what I'm saying, but let's say if I want to play credit, okay, मुझे इंडिया की क्रेडिट साइकिल खेलनी है और मैं रिटेल इन्वेस्टर हूँ, मेरे पास 1 करोड़ रुपया नहीं है AIF में डालने के लिए, और PMS में तो there is hardly any product that really plays fixed income. तो मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है कि आफ्टर द 2020 इवेंट in the fixed income space, and sorry, I'm taking the name and you all can edit if at all. So after 2020 franking crisis, मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है अनफॉर्चुनेटली ये क्रेडिट वाला पूरा प्रोडक्ट यूजलेस हो गया इंडस्ट्री में, राइट? कैटेगरी आपकी बोलती है कि आप डबल ए के नीचे इन्वेस्ट करो, पर मैं देखता हूँ कि फंड्स इन्वेस्ट ही नहीं करते, राइट? तो अगर मुझे क्रेडिट खेलना है तो एज अ रिटेल इन्वेस्टर व्हाट आर माय ऑप्शन? देन वो प्ले क्रेडिट इन द फिक्स्ड इनकम स्पेस.
So I can talk about my funds, right? I don't know about the industry, but we've been always contra investors. Even in credit in 2020, we promoted that this is the best time to put in money. एक ऐसा समय था जब आपका ये नॉर्मल डबल ए बॉन्ड, एक सिंगल ए बॉन्ड, दे यूज्ड टू ट्रेड एट 300-400 बेसिस पॉइंट्स. ट्रिपल ए 6% पे था, ये सब 10-11%, 12% पे ट्रेड कर रहे थे. So there's a period of time when it was very exciting from that perspective that आपको बहुत ज़्यादा रिस्क लेना नहीं था, but still the accruals were very very high. साइकोलॉजी ऐसी है ना मार्केट की कि when things go well, pricing also reflects that. 2018 में things were very good, right? Pricing also was reflecting that credit spreads were very narrow, right? And there was a lot of money which was flowing into credit funds at that point of time. And normally when that cycle happens, you tend to make mistakes, right? Whereas, the journey after that, 2020 to 2024, where we are, corporate trade cycle is one of the best in terms of overall credit quality. But, generally we've seen that there was a lot of risk aversion. Now, I think in the last 1.5 years, I'm started to see that risk aversion is getting out and people are okay to now, get into more credit papers. I think this is a cycle. This will change. At least for us, I can say that we've, stuck to our mandates and we made sure that the credit fund does enough justice to, investors. And we have, run the credit fund true to the labor. I mean, the challenge in credit fund is that the risk management process has to be accurate. While people, right now, there's, the balance sheets are in great shape, but you should not forget about the risk function. क्या होता है ना कि क्रेडिट साइकिल जब खत्म होती कब खत्म होती है पता नहीं चलता है, बट जो फॉल होता है ना वो ऑल ऑफ अ सडन आता है. आप उसको बिल्ड करते रहते हो बस बिकॉज लिक्विडिटी इज देयर. पीपल डोंट अंडरस्टैंड दैट द साइकिल विल स्टॉप एट अ पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम. वी आर नोवर ओवर देयर, but you have to have a strong risk management process to understand how the cycle is moving and individually how companies are progressing. So हमारा focus credit पे रहता है, पहले risk manage करो, उसके बाद आप portfolio construct करो.
Because you spoke of cycle, and I'm asking from the investor standpoint. Interest rates are probably topping out. There is an expectation that interest rates gearing in next year, and duration will do a much better job. Does that also mean that because duration will do well, credit will underperform?
देखो ना मार्केट में एक बहुत अच्छी चीज़ है. हमारे यहाँ पे एक बुक प्रेजेंटेशन होता है. टुडे प्रेजेंटिंग अ बुक Alchemy of Finance by George Soros, and he writes about theory of reflexivity. And that theory of reflexivity says that market operates in a loop. Prices impact expectations, expectations impact prices. आप फिक्स इनकम में देखोगे ना आज के दिन में last 1 year, 1.5 years, yields have gone down by 100 basis points on the 10-year and the around 30-year side. Now people are started to expect कि यहाँ से rate cut आएंगे. How much of that is already priced is not something that people understand. कि RBI जिस दिन कट करेगा शायद उस दिन yield नीचे जाएगी. Market is smart, right? So market has already pulled those yields down.
Yes.
Credit के केस में क्या है आज के दिन में I think bank, if economy continues to do well and you have enough demand for credit, I think धीरे धीरे क्या हो रहा है. पहले banking sector was the cost of deposit was low and they were one of the most competitive people in the entire system to lend. Now because deposit costs have gone up, bank system are giving away some of the loans back to the capital markets. So capital market में अब क्या है धीरे धीरे assets आना शुरू हो गया. So corporate bond issuances have improved substantially. I think if this cycle progresses, I think that more and more corporate bond issuances will come. So the accrual side, and I think that play is still ripe, and I think that play would do better as we move ahead.
Very interesting because the entire market is only talking about playing the DSM, and you as always are contra on the other side saying that probably accruals will do very well. Very interesting. I think Nilesh, because you made a point and hence I am countering you on that. what is your take on this very important discussion that is very popular on social media these days on fund managers taking cash calls? Do you all as a fund house take cash call? What is your idea? Should a fund manager be really taking a cash call on the fund at the fund level?
No, so our view is very clear, and we just completed 18 years. So we don't believe in taking cash calls because जो होता है ना, इन्वेस्टर ने पैसा चैनल पार्टनर के थ्रू या डायरेक्टली हमको दिया है, वो इक्विटी एलोकेशन है। जैसे मनीष बता रहा था, एसेट एलोकेशन इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। आप कितना फीस इनकम में डालते हैं और कितना इक्विटी में डालते हैं। सो ये डिसाइडेड ऑन इक्विटी फ्रॉम अ लॉन्गर टर्म लेंस, एंड देन वी डोंट टेक double cash flow of taking cash at our end and try to time the market. That's first point. But that doesn't mean that we will invest a single penny, single rupee if we see a downside. So as long as we see a decent upside, a bare minimum upside of say double digit return, the portfolio is constructed on that. But when I say upside, we look at a 3 to 5 year window, when a position you take from a 3 to 5 year window. So that fact that we don't take cash call and we're almost 97-98% interest invested, that doesn't mean that by force, as I said, that you are taking something which is against the fiduciary responsibility, that just to be along with the benchmark, you're taking negative returns. But I think, and that's one part of it. Second part is, all of us know in India over time, equities have done exceptionally well. Indices have done beautifully well. I mentioned earlier, Sensex का जब 1979 से अभी 45 years हो गए हैं, अगर उसमें डिविडेंड इंक्लूड करें तो 1100 टाइम हो गया, राइट? देयर आर म्यूचुअल फंड स्कीम हु लॉन्च्ड इन मिड 90s, देयर आर लाइक 400 टाइम्स, व्हिच इज अबाउट 20% CAGR, सेंसेक्स 17-18%. The question is that over time, equity, as long as you do a reasonably sensible job of stock selection of good business, not overpaying for it, and a well-constructed portfolio, in our view, most of the time you get opportunities which can deliver decent return, double-digit return. Sometimes market may be high, so the lifetime period can be low. But all put together, again, long answer, but I don't believe in taking a cash call. There can be exception if the markets are in the total entire market and you're not getting anything and everything in a bubble zone. But at least since 2008, we have not seen any long period of that.
Fortunately, unfortunately, I know of multiple fund managers on the MF side and gazillion fund managers on the PMS side sitting on extremely high level of cash. So why is there so much of disparity between you seeing so much of value and they are not seeing so much value?
No, I mean, see, there are a few things. First of all, it's not that we are seeing value that markets are very cheap or just like what happened in COVID or post-crisis or weird. It's not that. It's reasonably priced. What I'm saying is, as the portfolio of our schemes or our portfolios, can it generate more than 10% return over a 3 to 5 year return? Let's say put a number to that. We believe it can. If that be the case, are we able to identify the companies which can generate that? Then why put in something which will generate 6-7% or sort of inferior return? If we feel that we are not able, we are so suffocated that we can't create a portfolio which can generate double-digit return on a 3 to 5 year thing, then one can, in our view, can take a sort of cash call. The markets have moved, as Rahul also mentioned, exceptionally well in last 2 years, particularly from March 23. And that has created some segments being very overpriced or not so reasonable. But at the same time, there are some segments which are not so expensive. So cash call, I mean, one can always participate in the second tier of the market, which has not done so well in last 2 years, but they are good sort of businesses. And in our opinion, there are enough and more which can generate reasonable returns. That's the absolute return. So it's not at the expense of, we are not taking, our view is we are finding ideas which can generate reasonable returns. I'm not saying very high returns.
I'm happy. I thought it was a difficult question, but you answered really well. I have one difficult question to you also. Why in the conversation you mentioned about some factor funds like momentum and value and quality. My question is more on the active passive side. Okay. The argument has always been here, index में पैसा डाल दो, over a period of time index बहुत better करेगा active fund managers. अब मेरे को प्रॉब्लम ये हो रही है कि 250 पैसिव फंड्स है मार्केट में, जबकि लोग डिफरेंशिएट ही नहीं कर पाते कि वैल्यू और क्वालिटी में क्या डिफरेंस है, मोमेंटम और ग्रोथ में क्या डिफरेंस है, और उसके अंदर भी कॉम्बिनेशन प्रोडक्ट्स है. सो लुक, आई अंडरस्टैंड एट द एएमसी लेवल आपका काम है प्रोडक्ट मैन्युफैक्चर करना, एंड देयर इज नथिंग, एब्सोल्युटली नथिंग रॉन्ग इन दैट, राइट? वो तो इन्वेस्टर का काम है कि उसको जो रेलिवेंट प्रोडक्ट लगेगा वो उसको सिलेक्ट करना, राइट? बट इतना ज्यादा पैसिव हो जाएगा मार्केट में, तो पैसिव के अंदर भी सिलेक्शन इतना डिफिकल्ट हो गया. माय easy and difficult question to you is active versus passive, and within passive if there are so many options, how would I as an investor even decide कि मेरे को क्या चाहिए?
No, very valid questions actually. Very valid question. But active versus passive ka some part I think Nilesh was. I would borrow from Nilesh's answer when he was trying to answer on the large cap fund. That in some segments it is definitely more difficult to outperform index than other segments. So large cap is more difficult. We'll have to do a really much better job. Whereas an average, well, I should not say average, but not a mediocre, but an above average fund manager will do much better in a small cap, short cap world. Because alpha generation opportunities are much more. And large caps are generally, you say, are when discovered. तो आपको थोड़ी ज़्यादा कॉन्ट्रा बेट्स देनी पड़ती है large cap में आपका. But it's not impossible. And the data, as he was saying, is not impossible. You have to give it time. Not every style, not every portfolio works at all points. Even passives do. So that is one kind of retort. But small mid cap, multi cap passives will actives will definitely have a much better chance. Within passive. You're right that there is a lot of proliferation of khichdi, if I may say so, of choices. But if I were to pick 2 or 3 from that, I would say stick to the towards the larger cap index. If at all you want to do passive, whereas there also, if you give time, I think actives will do better. But take one of there. Take one sector which you think is going to do well the next 2 years, whether it's maybe banking, pharma, which is my view, but should be your view. And the third one, you should take one factor, which is, my view is momentum is a very unbiased factor. See, momentum में कोई human emotion नहीं है, कोई theme नहीं है या कुछ, तो वो अगर 6 महीने में कुछ काम नहीं करेगा तो वो portfolio अपने आप चेंज कर दो, और काफ़ी मैसेज चेंज में होता है. You could still go wrong, but at least there is bias in that fact. So if I were to make a portfolio of within passives, one large cap, pure large cap bias, one sector index, whichever sector we share. But उसमें भी हमारा जो track record रहा है, उसमें भी again going back to what Nilesh was saying, if you compare all active sector funds versus all passive indices, all active sector funds have outperformed massively all the passive sectors without passive indices, without any thought. And we have some, but I have a problem here, the third one. And the third one is moment. So this is a very simple.
I have a problem here, and I'll tell you what my problem is. As a fund, right, typically I am assuming that because the index is skewed in a way, and I'm talking about large caps here, right, you all invariably have 25-30% in banking and financial services. Okay. Largely, at an industry level, may be very different at your individual level, but at industry level, you will have 25-30% in banking and financial services, right? अब सेक्टर फंड्स में गिने चुने सेक्टर्स है जिसमें डेप्थ है और जो वॉल्यूम्स ले सकता है. तो मान लो शायद फार्मा एंड आईटी आर 2 sectors which are slightly at a 5%, 10% weight in the portfolio, but a banking and financial services will typically have a very large weight, and at least that is what I've seen. I'm not a fund manager, but I think probably a travel tourism or a defense or a manufacturing, I don't know how these things are really going to evolve. So if I'm an individual investor who's looking at following what you're saying कि यार large में पैसिव ले लो, एक सेक्टर ले लो जो अच्छा करेगा और यहाँ मोमेंटम ले लो, how do I decide which sector do I want to buy if I've taken passive on the large side?
उसके लिए 2 अलग एक पॉडकास्ट है. नहीं, सेक्टर फंड्स में और पैसिव जो सेक्टर पैसिव है उसमें आप 5 ईयर व्यू ले सकते हैं, बट मेरा व्यू है कि उसमें एंट्री एग्जिट और at various points of time, 2 years का view, take a good view, 2-3 years. Where I think my view with banking and pharma makes sense. But the views could be different. Sure, on this table pool. And I think the question was, your question was कि इतने सारे पैसे में कैसे, मैंने आपको उतने सारे में से 3
The answer was brilliant, but I just picked up from the answer that you gave. Manish, because there is no correlation to what I'm asking, but I have this question that I really always ask anybody that I meet in the fixed income space. So I was reading a commentary by a so-called popular name in the fixed income space in mutual fund. And the view was कि अब ये 10 साल में interest rates have only to go down, right? Yields are only to go down. And we are in a brilliant macroeconomic space where duration will do brilliantly well. So I countered why. So the argument was we are getting added to bond index. Agencies are moving us from a negative outlook to a stable outlook. The inflows are going to come in. You know, macros are stable. Forex reserve was one discussion, right? And I was just reading another commentary of how to stabilize rupee. अपना बहुत सारा फॉरेक्स रिजर्व्स ऐसे ही चला गया. Whereas globally, all other emerging markets are allowing it to go down, but RBI is fighting. I don't know. The thought may be here different, but I'm just telling you what I read. If I'm an investor who wants to do fixed income allocation, the 20% as an aggressive investor, और मेरे पास मैं aggressive investor हूँ, 10 साल का टाइम होराइजन है, 20% पैसा मुझे फिक्स इनकम में allocate करना है, कहाँ करूँ? Should I do credit?
So पहले तो the concept of a fundamentally lower yield, right? That I think is something which can be challenged easily. Fixed income क्या है? एक interest rate जो flow होता है वो business cycle के हिसाब से flow होता है, right? Business cycle जब भी weak होता है RBI would cut interest rates. Business cycle जब strong होगा RBI will raise interest rates. कभी-कभी ऐसा भी समय आता है when things go overboard. Economy starts to overheat, you have to tighten interest rates. US में that's the point where we are, been in the last 2-3 years. They've tightened interest rates. So ये जो है, this is a cyclical phenomena. इसमें structural तभी होता है ना when you have some of the factors जैसे economy है that is structurally slowing down, right? आपका rate of growth है that is structurally coming down. अगर इस टाइप का आप सिनेरियो बिल्ड करोगे तो बोलोगे yes, because my nominal growth is structurally coming down, my rate of interest will also continuously come down. I don't think India is in that space right now. जो भी आपने फैक्टर्स बोला ना, most of these factors are cyclical. Index inclusion हुआ, is that repetitive? एक बार होता है, हर बार नहीं होता, right? जिस साल हुआ उस साल हम cyclical factors played out, right? अब आप बोलते हो कि लॉन्ग इन्वेस्टर्स है, इसमें भी क्या होता है, जो आपकी सेविंग्स होती है ना, that is very much related to growth. राइट, आई थिंक पीपल डोंट अंडरस्टैंड दैट नॉर्मल ग्रोथ जब ज़्यादा होगी ना तो आपकी सेविंग्स भी ज़्यादा होगी, और सेविंग्स ज़्यादा होगी तो फाइनेंशियल एसेट्स का फ्लो भी ज़्यादा होगा, राइट? सो जब फाइनेंशियल एसेट्स का फ्लो ज़्यादा होता है तो इक्विटी में भी पैसा आता है, फिक्स इनकम में भी पैसा आता है, राइट? सो दैट फ्लो ऑफ मनी टेंड्स टू देन रिड्यूस रिस्क प्रीमियम्स. तो अभी टर्म स्प्रेड्स बहुत कम है. सो ऑल ऑफ दीज आर सिक्लिकल थिंग्स. इसको आप स्ट्रक्चरल एंगल देके बोलोगे एट अ पॉइंट वेयर सिक्लिकल थिंग्स हैव प्लेड आउट. I think people should be a little aware about some of these factors. I think interest rates are cyclical. India में मेरे हिसाब से 6 to 7% का potential है. Around 7% is where the potential is. Inflation roughly around 4 to 6%, right? Which makes 11 to 12% of nominal growth. 11 to 12% nominal growth में I think fair value for a 10 year is 7%.
So you're still suggesting if I have 10 years and if I have to put 20 rupees, I put 10 in accrual and 10 in duration.
I like one of the funds which we have, which is called All Season Bond Fund. And the idea over there is that, we play all kinds of, it's like flexi in equity, right? आप mid cap भी खेलते हो, small cap भी खेलते हो, large cap भी खेलते हो, depending on what the environment and factors are. So we play duration, we play credit, we do all kinds of things.
I have a problem with that fund, and I'll tell you what. Assume there is no new money that comes in, okay? And you are sitting on a 30,000 crore fund, right? Where the concept is that it is dynamic in nature.
Right.
But except for GSEC, depth का है market में for you to move from let's say a 3 modified duration to a 6 modified duration without new inflows coming in.
No, it is not important for new inflows. Look, the concept is that you don't, the way you construct portfolios, which Nilesh talked about portfolio construction, it is very important, right? You don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? So when you're playing accrual, you don't play 100% the portfolio as accrual. You will have enough liquidity to churn, a major part of the portfolio. So it's very easy. And fixed income में क्या होता है ना, you have maturities, right? Not everything when you do credit. We don't take 10 years instruments, right? Normally, most of the instruments are 1 year, 2 year, 3 year maturity. So they have maturities which continuously keep coming in. So portfolio churning happens naturally. ये fixed income में बहुत different है equity. Equity में कोई issue कर दिया ना, कभी mature नहीं होता है. Fixed income maturity आती है.
So basically you are saying जिसको कुछ नहीं समझता है वो एक डायनामिक जैसे फंड में डाल दो, जैसे फ्लेक्सी है यहाँ पर, लेट द फंड मैनेजर डिसाइड क्या साइकिल प्ले आउट होगा और उस साइकिल को राइड कर लो.
And there's a process, right, which goes behind managing such funds. I understand flexi cap strategy में risk ज़्यादा होगा, right? अगर आप बहुत कुछ कर सकते हैं तो गलत भी जा सकते हैं बहुत जगह. So I think what is important is you have a framework, you have a discipline and an approach to handle, such kind of funds.
Awesome. Guys, one last question to each one of you. Because the round table is focused on mutual fund investing, मैं म्यूचुअल फंड पे फोकस कर रहा था, पर ऑडियंस को क्या है ना, वो कौन सा सेक्टर चलेगा उसमें बड़ा मजा आता है, राइट? सो आई while I'm not talking to you all about stock recommendations, right? But let's say if there is somebody who's got a 3 or 5 year view, Nilesh, we'll start with you. 2-3 sectors that you think are probably something to look forward to from a 3 or 5 year perspective, and you would want to be overweight in your funds on that.
Yeah, so I'll call out 3 sectors where the funds are overweight. Overweight मतलब benchmark से जो ज़्यादा उसमें है weight. एक तो banking है. So banking is because it is reasonable and the large banks, large quality banks are reasonably priced and they have good runway to grow. So I think that is we are positive on. Second, I would say is mass consumption and उसमें भी discretionary side. Discretionary मतलब not staples and all. तो एज उसमें क्या लॉन्ग टर्म थीम भी है एंड मीडियम टर्म भी है. लॉन्गर टर्म तो जैसे देश का पर कैपिटा बढ़ेगा पर ऑफ आवर इकोनॉमी से $2,500. सो एज वी गो टू मिडिल इनकम लेवल ऑफ $7,000-8,000 इज अ ह्यूज potential for Indian consumer to migrate and upgrade and most of the spending will go towards discretionary side. So that's a very important thing. उसमें भी जो मास सेगमेंट है, रूरल सेगमेंट, मास सेगमेंट, वो कोविड के बाद इतना अच्छा नहीं किया. लास्ट 2-3 साल से उनके स्टॉक्स भी नहीं चले हैं. उसमें चाहे मास रिटेल हो, मास फुटवेयर हो, बिल्डिंग मटेरियल है, तो वो कोहर्ट्स जो है तो वो सेगमेंट में अगेन वैल्यू दिखती है both from a next 2-3 year perspective and definitely from a 10 year plus perspective. Third, I would say certain segments of healthcare, which can include both pharma and pharma manufacturing. I think these are the 3 pockets which we are slightly overweight.
Can I ask you
Yeah.
some questions around this very quickly? I know you're short on time, but because the interest rate cycle is turning, will it hurt the NIMs in the banking sector? One, I understand it's fairly valued, but probably it is fairly valued because the market is expecting the NIMs to come down. You spoke about consumption. I've been reading some report which said high frequency data around consumption has significantly slowed down, which is why the index is doing as poorly as it is. Which is why do we see value? And is China a play on the API front because of pharma? And isn't the pharma play that they are playing?
Yeah. So see on banking, see there are many nuances. हम लोग कई बार जो टॉपिकल इशू होता है उस पर ज़्यादा चर्चा करते हैं and then sometimes you have to look at valuation. Maybe then maybe some headwind, but valuations have corrected. So interest rate क्या money is a raw material and you have spread and then that's how the bank functions. So it's not that एक बैंक के लिए कोई interest rate cut होगा या बढ़ेगा. So one has to look across that sort of cycle. And I am talking of certain large banks which have very strong, जिसको बोलते हैं लो कॉस्ट डिपॉजिट रहता है, तो दे विल मिटिगेट इट. ऑफ कोर्स एक पीरियड में थोड़ा सा नेम में नॉर्मलाइजेशन हो सकता है पर बहुत ज़्यादा करेक्शन नहीं होगा. एंड मोर इम्पॉर्टेंटली वेयर वी आर इन क्रेडिट साइकिल, दैट इज़ मोर इम्पॉर्टेंट फ्रॉम अ बैंक थिंग एंड देन वैल्यूएशन. सो ओवरऑल इट इज़ रीजनेबल प्राइस्ड. दैट्स व्हाट द व्यू इज. ऑन सी इन कंजम्पशन में जैसे हमने वो के शेप रिकवरी की बात करी होगी, तो उसमें मैं आई वाज सेइंग ऑन दैट the rural consumptions, what did post COVID the urban or the mass affluent, and that did exceptionally well. तो जो आप स्लो डाउन बोल रहे हैं वो अभी लास्ट फ्यू मंथ्स में most corporates have followed out कि there is some slowdown on a very high base in the urban side of it. बट आई वाज टॉकिंग ऑफ मास डिस्क्रिशनरी थिंग, जो उसमें पहले ही स्लो डाउन था, 1 साल पहले भी स्लो डाउन था. नॉट दैट दे आर वेरी चीप, बट अगेन दे आर रीजनेबल एंड मोर इम्पोर्टेंटली उनके अर्निंग सॉर्ट ऑफ रिकवर होगी. सी हेल्थकेयर, व्हेन आई सेड इट्स अ वेरी वास्ट सब्जेक्ट. यू हैव डोमेस्ट, उसमें 3 कोहोर्ट्स हैं. एक जो होता है कि जो कंज्यूमर टाइप का जो ब्रांड्स यहाँ बेचती हैं कंपनीज, उसका अलग डायनेमिक्स, उसका चाइना से कोई लेना देना नहीं है. हाँ हाँ, जेनरिक ब्रांडेड्स भी रहते हैं तो उसमें 11-12% ग्रोथ है, आरओआई अच्छा है, स्टेबल बिजनेस है. सेकंड जो पीस होता है वो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, केवल आप कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मैन्युफैक्चरिंग करेंगे या डेवलपमेंट सीजीएल या बोलेंगे वो करेंगे, तो उसमें भी अगेन द angle from China. In fact, there is a Biosecure Act which is a bit of tailwind, which could probably help at a macro level for the next decade, where there will be this China plus one thing would happen. And third is the generic piece, right, where India has a strength for last 2-3 decades. We have done very well. So yeah, China angle would be there, but it is not so overwhelming sort of thing. In fact, for all else being same, the China plus one theme also run across this sort of segment. It's a bit of a tailwind.
Sure. So banking, discretionary consumption, and pharma broadly.
Yeah.
Awesome. Same question to you.
हाँ, जैसा कि मैंने काफ़ी सिमिलर सेक्टर्स हैं, तो मेरा
हाँ, तो बैंकिंग और फाइनेंशियल सर्विस और फार्मा तो बोल दिया था, तो कुछ और है तो
नहीं, फार्मा में 1-2 पॉइंट्स में और ऐड करना चाहूँगा, व्हाई वी लाइक फार्मा एंड हेल्थ केयर. फार्मा में फार्मा हम लोग ये मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में काफ़ी बुलिश हैं. एज अ कंट्री, नो यू सीइंग विद इन द स्टॉक्स, बट फार्मा वाज द ओरिजिनल मैन्युफैक्चरिंग. India was the original manufacturing kind of up for pharma. So this is like a tailor-made situation. मतलब इससे अच्छी सिचुएशन हो ही नहीं सकती कि when the entire world is looking to diversify away from China and we have a strong base in pharma. Manufacturing में तो अभी बेस किए, सेमीकंडक्टर तो अभी शुरू कर रहे हैं. फार्मा में तो हम 20 साल से करते हैं. So I think the takeoff can surprise you. But my view is, because like the CDMO piece which Manish mentioned, I think there is also opportunities coming from the big drugs going off patent like Mozambique into 126. तो ये बहुत बड़ा opportunity है. I think it will surprise. And continuing with pharma healthcare, one of the pieces where I am very structurally positive for my 10-year view is the healthcare piece, which is the hospitals ranked. Because हमारे यहाँ it is completely underbuilt. I mean, 10 years later, we will be talking about consumption, but we'll be talking about 500 million people at the age of 60 needing healthcare, and we are just short of capacity. So I think ये दोनों को अगर मैं combine करो, pharma और healthcare, it becomes like a very, very potent long-term.
I think this theme is maddening. This is out of context, but I was in the US the last month. I got something called as shingles in the US. यहाँ पर herpes बोलते हैं. For a 5-minute consultation, they charged me $6,000. And this is not covered in insurance because this was not overnight hospitalization. So,
I mean, it is like an inflation India में भी काफी बढ़ रहा है.
maddening. Because this question is not relevant, I have a different question. Now you can ask me that, Tesho. Don't worry. Give me 3 categories that somebody who wants to move out of FD and come to mutual fund fixed income space because of transparency, liquidity, and very specifically एक fund में डालता हो तो 50 bond में, तो risk is also diversified. So, of course it's a no brainer कि आप FD से निकल कर यहाँ आ जाओ, क्योंकि आपको yields तो मिलेगी, capital gains का भी opportunity है, पर मुझे कुछ नहीं आता, मैं एक FD investor हूँ. 3 categories जहाँ पर मेरे पास 100 रुपए है तो मैं 30 करके divide कर दो.
So I'll speak about fixed income, but I also want to add there are other interesting products, right? New class of products like REIT and REITs which have come up. Before I answer the fixed income, I think one of the interesting space which I see other than equity and debt as an asset class is the commercial real estate. And I think that cycle is, pretty good. We've seen, over the last, at least post-COVID, the commercial real estate cycle has been slow. And, I think from a valuation perspective, valuation got impacted in that cycle. That I think is coming up. Supply in the commercial real estate has been slow because of that. Residential real estate doing very well. Occupancy levels are improving. I think that's a very positive cycle. So that's a asset class which I think, because every other asset class I think is expensive right now. I don't think India has cheap asset classes right now.
Do I play that thing through
So we invest a lot through our hybrid funds. Some of the debt products, like the credit risk fund, has exposure to REITs and REITs as an asset class. So we actively do invest, in some of these products. Maybe semis come up with certain categories where we be able to invest a little more into REITs and REITs as products.
Name a couple of them.
I mean, right now, and we don't have products, but we're working with the regulator to come up with products where we have incrementally high exposures than what we have in some of these, products. But we think they are interesting products, particularly the commercial real estate side. From a fixed income perspective, I think, the short end of the curve is something which I would want people to be in. I think we are at a point of time where yield curves in the corporate bond market is inverted. Inverted yield curve normally suggests that you're going to, go into a recession. I don't think we're anywhere closer to that phase. I still think that India is doing decently well in the mid cycle. You will have these blips, what happened in the last quarter, but I don't think that's something which is going to continue. So you have to, be in the, mid duration segment. That is one segment which people should look at.
Is the yield curve inverted on the corporate bond side because the banks are not lending, or is there some other reason?
I think the yield curve is inverted because there's a compulsive investment which flows into long duration assets by certain category. And because of those compulsive investments, the yields in that segment has gone down. The 2-year, 3-year segment, which was a mutual fund segment, there I think the flows are a little less compared to what they were. And therefore, you find a lot of value in that segment. So clearly that is one space. The second space is the credit space. I think the credit space is looking, pretty good. And I think as the economy grows, right now, I mean, people are raising a lot of money through equity. I mean, as the investment requirement in the country grows, I think you will have demand on the, corporate bond side as well. We are incrementally seeing a lot of M&A flows, and those M&A flows also open up opportunities on the corporate bond side. So that's clearly one space where the other space where I think people should, be happy about. And the third is my favorite space, which is the dynamic space. I think if somebody wants, look, the way I look at now fixed income after change in taxation, right? And people ask me this question over and over again. If I invest in fixed income, then I'll be subject to taxation. I think this is a segment where you invest and then forget about it till you retire. Right? So you have to choose products which have longevity in terms of giving you investment returns. Because if you, withdraw money, then at that point of time you'll be subject to tax. But if you don't withdraw and keep in tax, you're deferring it. And as you defer, as much as you defer, you're lowering your tax incidence.
So REIT as an asset class, medium duration, credit, and dynamic duration, right? That's okay. Awesome. I don't know if you have time for one last question, but one mistake that each one of you, or one myth about mutual fund that you think that investor community should know and hear from somebody like you. Either of you all take it out. One myth, one mistake, one suggestion, whatever.
I think I won't say it's a myth, but it's a practice which, people kind of follow, which is looking at past returns. And I think this is very common. I mean, you would be hearing it again and again, but I want to repeat it again. Don't look at past returns. And the reason is that what has happened in the past is there in the price and may not repeat. So you need to have a longevity when you're looking at past returns. Just don't look at the 1-year return. If you have to look at past returns, look at the profile of the fund manager that you are investing in. Look at how he's done things over a longer period of time. 1 year is something where, and I've seen a lot of people, do that Excel sorting, right, based on returns. You शुरू के 3 funds होते हैं, उसमें पैसा डाल दो. And I don't think that has made money for investors.
Awesome. So don't look at the last 1 to 3 years of returns and invest. Anything from this equity batch?
Yeah, I'll refine it further. Actually, that क्या होता है कि every 3 years or 2-3 years certain things work. और ये और भी compound हो जाता है when people look at only thematic funds and go after it. So that's something which is even more avoidable.
Don't look at past returns. Don't look
Look at large and big cap and large cap and these multi-cap kind of categories, you will even out. But it's very difficult to even out if you go wrong on the timing on a thematic event. जब आपने 3 साल में देखा कि ना returns आया इस particular theme में, and you come in at the wrong time, then 3-4 years, 5 years, you will not see positive returns. That's the, so I, adding one more layer to the button.
Agree. Anything else outside of this?
No, it's a substantiation of this that we do hear that, see, SIP has done wonders to the history. We do hear closure of SIP or the time period being less. I think mutual fund is an excellent vehicle to amplify the power of compounding, and so just continue the SIP. That's the most important part. So most of the time, I think one thing is when there are a lot of noises in the market, and there is a rare view approach. You chase the past returns and all, but most of the time, investors probably have to not to do anything. That's the best thing. That you just keep what it is. Just maintain the discipline of investing in SIP in asset allocation framework. That's it. Yeah.
It's actually
All we need, sorry, it's all we need in a country like India while investing in equity is time. You need time. And you're not asking for more than 3-5 years. You're just not asking for 10 years, but for a 3-5 year period, you just diversify it across 4-5 managers and invest through SIP. It's as simple as that. Live review it. So experts like you.
I would say it is so unfortunate that when the markets are falling and SIP is supposed to do its job is that exact time when people stop. And I don't really understand how is a rising market going to solve what problem of you if you continue your SIP.
But I want to sort of just add that it has significantly matured. I mean, the ecosystem, the concept of SIP, the mind frame, the time frame, which you have to be really grateful in terms of how it has evolved. And it is, if I draw parallel to other markets or so, it's really exceptional. So not much to complain.
100%. Not much to complain on the fund side, not much to complain on the advisory side. I think all of us are very happy. Gentlemen, you all have been great. Thank you so much for taking all the questions the way it was and answering as raw as you could. I understand that you all have limitations at your end from multiple perspective, but I think you all were really great at answering all the questions. I could not have expected much more than this, and I'm hoping that the audience would have loved all the conversation that we had. Thank you so much for tuning in, and you all have been really great, and I learned a lot from all of you, and I'm just gonna refine this further in the next conversation when I do with scenarios. Thank you so much for taking the time.
But thank you, guys.